Well guys, 2019 is coming to an abrupt end. It was a great year for me. The channel grew, I made some great friends, hit some cons, played some games, lost some sleep, made some videos, but all in all, it was fantastic. But it's over. I'm looking forward to 2020, and really, I can't wait for the next console generation to hit. But I gotta slow them horses down because we have some games to get through, and I'm here to help you out. I'm here to help you through that first quarter to tell you about the games that you should keep your eye on through January, February, and March. Stick around, let's get right into it. We're going to get right into the middle of January before we get any of the big hitters coming out, and that's Dragon Ball Z Kakarot for the PS4, Xbox, and PC. Now this is going to be quite a bit different than the traditional Dragon Ball Z games we've gotten. Lately we've gotten a bunch of fighting games, which are great, but if you're looking for something a little bit different featuring your favorite Dragon Ball Z characters, you're getting a full-on action RPG. You got quests, you got NPCs, and this could actually be one of those sleeper hits early in the year. And if you're an anime fan, a huge fan of Dragon Ball Z, this is definitely a must pick up for you. We're moving on next to another massive franchise in Final Fantasy. But we're not getting a mainline Final Fantasy game, we're getting Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered January 23rd, coming to all platforms. Now originally this was released for the Nintendo GameCube, and it did have a method of multiplayer, except it was an absolute pain. You had to have multiple Game Boy Advances and multiple link cables hooked up to your GameCube, and really, very few people I know that have this game played at co-op. But now we're getting rid of all that, we're going to classic couch co-op, there's going to be cross-play for online, so if you want to do some dungeon crawling with your Final Fantasy characters, this is definitely one to check out. January 28th, we have two titles dropping. First is a colorful co-op game set in an alien world called Journey to the Savage Planet. It comes to PC, PS4, and Xbox. This is a game where you're left on a planet that has never been journeyed to, and it's up to you to discover the various plants and animals that live there. To make it better, the option to have a fellow explore with you really makes me personally interested in this title. To have a friend with you exploring this unknown planet, super colorful, you can see that visually this one really pops off the screen. Don't know a lot about it, but so far the graphics and stuff make it look really interesting, and the story behind it makes it something that I'm definitely going to be checking out when it happens. The second game coming out that day is a complete 180 in terms of gameplay, but it already has a loyal fan base, and that's Warcraft III Reforged. Essentially, this is Warcraft III, originally released for PC back in 2003, and it was an instant classic and another great title for the powerhouse known as Blizzard. This isn't just a graphical upgrade though, there will be additional campaigns, balance changes, and improved mods. One of my best buddies, Domingo, will definitely be picking this one up. He bought it originally, he still plays it occasionally, so Warcraft III Reforged, for all you RTS fans, this is coming out here soon. We're moving on to February. Now, February 4th has a Netflix series that's getting a video game spin-off, and I've never even heard of it. It's called The Dark Crystal Age of Resistance Tactics, and this brings you into a battle strategy for every single platform. Now, it features over 70 turn-based campaigns. You recruit, you customize your forces while battling opposing factions, and it has a modern kind of Final Fantasy Tactics look to it. So, if you're a Final Fantasy Tactics fan, you've been craving that kind of game, then this looks to be kind of in that same realm, like a spiritual successor. Obviously a completely different IP, but the actual gameplay itself looks pretty similar. We're moving on to the Day of Love, February 14th, and with it brings a huge title. Darksiders Genesis drops for consoles. Now this saw a PC release a little bit earlier, but the platform crowd has been left out until now. This game is actually a prequel as far as chronology goes in the Darksiders series, and it introduces the fourth horseman of the apocalypse, Strife, who happens to be the main character in the game. So Darksiders fans, big ol' action hack and slashers, this is definitely one of those feel-good games. You just want to go slaughter some people in the game and just get rid of some anger. This is the game for you. The handheld variants of Mega Man and Zero get some love on February 25th with the release of Mega Man 0/ZX Collection. This has two series of games with all four Mega Man Zero games, Mega Man ZX, and Mega Man ZX Advent. For those that missed these Mega Man games, they hold up pretty well today, and since all consoles and PCs are getting it, everyone has a chance to play it. I'm a huge Mega Man fan, so I will most definitely be picking this one up. Rounding out the month of February is a PSVR game, and it features one of our favorite Marvel superheroes, Iron Man. You get to get in the suit, take over as Tony Stark, and hang out with the baddies. With VR becoming bigger and better, this might be one of the most ambitious titles for PSVR yet, and the gameplay looks really, really interesting. For me, VR I thought was kind of one of those shots in the dark. I kind of thought of it like as 3D televisions and 3D games, but really VR has been getting a solid footing, and I don't think it's going anywhere. Next up is One Punch Man, a hero nobody knows. Now, I'm a big One Punch Man fan. If you haven't watched the anime, it's actually really funny and easy to get into, and I would rather have an action RPG featuring our favorite buddy Saitama, but this is actually a fighting game. Now, our bald-headed superhero is One Punch Man himself, so how could he be in this game? Well, they have a really interesting mechanic. You play a 3-on-3 fighting game. You pick 3 people, you fight against 3 others, but there's one caveat. If you pick Saitama, who I said earlier is the One Punch Man, you're forced to fight 2v3 until he arrives, which is very delayed. Now, there's things you can do to make him arrive faster, but since he's so overpowered, he can one-punch everybody. So you have to beat the other opponents before he arrives. So that kind of plays into the strategy where if you pick Saitama, you know that you're going to have to beat them up or at least play defense until he arrives. The only other thing is if the other person picks him, they're the only 2 people that can hurt each other as far as Saitama goes. So it's kind of interesting, and the mechanic with him being able to come late or only hurting himself really looks interesting, so I'll be looking at the reviews for this one. Now we're moving into March. Now March is going to be a huge month for gaming. We're getting into the big hitters this time. Starting off March 3rd, we're going right into Final Fantasy VII Remake. Have you ever heard of Final Fantasy VII? It's either the most overrated game of all time or the greatest game of all time. For me, I absolutely love this game. I've never been so emotionally attached to a game until The Last of Us came out. The original PS1 game is a classic, regardless of what you think. It has the sales numbers to back it up. Now, Final Fantasy VII Remake is completely different than the original, other than the characters are the same, the story, but the gameplay looks different. The graphics are so much different that I'm really, really curious to see how this looks when it comes out, what the gameplay is like, and how it feels compared to the original. The Xbox One and PC get an exclusive in Ori and Will of the Wisps. The follow-up to the smash hit Ori and the Blind Forest, this game will be a massive success. I'm calling it now. There is no way, with how good that game was and how it came out of nowhere, this game is not going to be a big seller. I don't see how this game can fail unless they absolutely reverse everything good about the original game, and they definitely won't be doing that. They have a couple new features like auto-saving, so you're not having to go out of your way to save, but continuing the puzzle platforming is the #1 thing they're doing, and they're going to keep that going, and it is absolutely beautiful. Can't wait to check this game out. Next up, March 20th, we have Neo 2, and it falls right into our laps for the PS4. Now, this is also a prequel to the original game, and you can take your samurai skills and katanas through the 1500s Japan. The original is one that's been on my game list for a long time, and I just haven't got around to playing it, but now that a sequel's coming out, the pressure is definitely growing. This isn't for the weak, however. It's kind of been called a Souls-esque style of game. This isn't your typical hack and slasher. Definitely needs some skill to make this game work. Next up, the Switch gets a familiar looking game on March 20th, and it's Animal Crossing New Horizon. There's not much to say here. If you love any of the previous 4 Animal Crossing games, then you can expect more of the same with the latest offering. With up to 4 players locally and 8 players online, the options are endless. Animal Crossing is not one that I've ever gotten into, but I know so many people that absolutely love this franchise. Moving on, we have a game called Bleeding Edge. It's a PC and Xbox exclusive that puts 2 teams of 4 into an arena and lets them brawl it out until a victory emerges. With the creators of Devil May Cry and Hellblade behind it, the knowledge is there, but this looks like a newer version of Overwatch to me, or something kind of similar. It could be one of those sleeper hits, or it could be a game that comes out and it's a dud, so we'll have to wait and see, but for now, it looks pretty cool. It looks like it could be kind of fun, something to pick up and play on the weekend, so we'll have to see what it looks like. And lastly, rounding out the first quarter of 2020, we have the long-awaited sequel to Half-Life 2. But it's not quite what you're thinking. We have Half-Life Alyx. It will arrive on PC, but here's the thing. It has to be played in VR, and that's already going to limit the amount of people that have a chance at getting their hands on it. But if the gameplay is as good as Half-Life, then VR fans might be getting the real deal. And if it's anything like Half-Life 2, this might be one of the greatest VR games ever made. So fingers crossed this game takes off, and then fingers crossed that it takes off and we actually get a true console sequel to Half-Life 2. There you go, gamers. I got you covered through the first quarter 2020. It starts off a little bit slow in January, but it picks up a ton of steam towards the end of the quarter. What game are you looking forward to? Ironically, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles is in the back of my mind. It may be because I owned it for GameCube, and now I'm finally ready to play it. I don't know. But with that being said, guys, thanks for popping in. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Come hang out with me next Friday again. Keep trolling, keep rolling. We'll see you later.